Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. Welcome to CIT 2022. Wish I could be there in person, but I'm coming to you from Albany, New York, and I'm here to talk to you about supporting regular and substantive interaction with the Oscar rubric. My name is Rob Pierkowski, and I am an instructional designer for Suny Online. My official title is Assistant Director of Online Teaching, and I've been an instructional designer for 20 years and an online instructor for 16 years, and I'm one of the principal developers of the Oscar rubric. So I'm real happy to talk to you this morning about regular and substantive interaction, RSI, and how we've modified the Oscar rubric, now Oscar 4.0, to address this important concern. So I hope you like the presentation. Just to give you, all of this information will be made available to you, excuse me, but to give you the bit.ly for all of the presentation materials I use today and a lot of supplemental materials regarding regular and substantive interaction and the Oscar rubric. Here is the bit.ly. Again, these resources will be made available to you after this presentation through the CPD. So please, you don't have to take out your pen and paper and write everything down. So this is the bit.ly for a whole folder of resources for regarding the Oscar rubric and regular and substantive interaction. So in my half hour, I only get a half hour, and my slides seem to have a mind of their own a little bit. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the Oscar rubric. Then I'm going to give you an overview of RSI, and then I'm going to go through some of the updates to the Oscar standards that we've made for the 4.0 version of the rubric, and how they address RSI directly or indirectly. So, what is Oscar? The Oscar rubric is the Oscar rubric is a lens that we can apply to online courses that that offers up standards of best practices for us to evaluate the efficacy of an online course in regard to those standards, and helps us look for uh, room for improvement for an online course. The Oscar rubric is not an evaluative instrument in that it does not create a score. What the Oscar rubric does is it helps us understand where we can improve our courses. So the Oscar rubric is an instrument of continuous improvement. And the Oscar rubric, because it's very different than other rubrics, other course design rubrics, we have won several awards. And just to give you a timeline of the Oscar rubric, you can see here some of the awards that we've won, but also the development of the Oscar rubric. It is both an instrument and a systematic approach to ensuring online course quality. It comes with something called a dashboard, the Oscar dashboard, which enables campuses at the campus level to generate rubrics for all their online courses, as well as monitor those rubrics, the completion of those rubrics. So as you can see, we have been developing this rubric since 2013, And our most recent iteration, again, addresses the regular and substantive interaction requirements now by middle states. So just a little overview of how we developed the Oscar rubric. Excuse me. We had a team back in 2013 use all of the resources you see here, our best practices to date, the Chico rubric from California, universal design for learning. We took all different frameworks for best practices in online teaching, as well as the seminal pieces of literature at the bottom of the slide. And we developed standards generated from those resources. And the standards that we created were meant to be applied by both faculty and instructional designers. So the Oscar rubric is set up for multiple reviewers, as well as we have a version that is used for self-assessment. And as I mentioned before, the Oscar rubric is more than just a document to use as a checklist or to apply standards to online course quality. This instrument was developed to serve a process of continuous improvement, as you can see from this slide. We recommend that you apply the Oscar rubric several times, again, to ensure that you or your faculty are continuously improving the fully online course offerings. And so as you can see, after a course goes through development and review, that course is then delivered, and then we recommend that, again, on a regular basis, we apply the lens of the Oscar rubric and see where there is room for improvement in online course offerings. So all of this includes course delivery, a learning review, applying the rubric, and it becomes a cycle of continuous improvement. There are 50 standards for the Oscar rubric, and we don't expect all of those standards to be met. Some of them are not applicable to all courses, and we recognize that all courses are idiosyncratic in nature, where they serve very specific targeted populations of students. They serve a discipline. So the Oscar rubric is made to be editable by its own design. So when you download the Oscar rubric, I should say, when you generate the Oscar rubric as a Google sheet, you have full editing capability for the Oscar rubric. You are also encouraged to change any standards that don't apply to your course, as well as share the Oscar rubric with anyone you want. So in Oscar 4.0, just last year, we have updated the Oscar rubric to address squarely a new requirement by middle states called regular and substantive interaction. So let's see what RSI is all about. According to the wording, regular and substantive interaction means that interaction in an online course must be with the instructor, that must be initiated by the instructor, must be scheduled and predictable, and must be academic in nature. Essentially, what the regulation stipulates is that in order to participate in Title IV programs, 50% or more of its students uh, need to have regular and substantive interaction in those online courses. So, as the wording says, a campus may not participate in, or a program may not participate in Title IV, may not be a Title IV program if 50% or more of its students are enrolled in correspondence courses. So regular and substantive interaction as a concept draws a clear distinction from correspondence courses. So here's the exact wording, okay, of what defines a distance education course. And if I can draw your attention down to the bottom, because we don't have that much time here. This is a half-an-hour session. The technologies in play must support regular and substantive interaction, and it can be synchronous or asynchronous. So essentially, this graphic, which will appear on the OSCAR rubric, sort of shows the range of from correspondence courses to what is now defined as distance education courses. And as you can see from the graphic, the instructor interaction is really high on the right-hand side, as opposed to the left-hand side, where most of the types of engagement is passive, as in a correspondence course. So, so the focus here is on instructor participation and direct engagement with the students. So let me show you a little bit some of the standards that we have updated to address RSI. So a lot of this, we essentially we took each and every section of the OSCAR rubric. I'm not going to read to you every standard, but as you can see, we have inserted some of the wording from the regular and substantive interaction wording from as a regulation, and have plugged it into the OSCAR rubric. Now, in some cases, we did this with the standards themselves, which I'll be showing you. They are bold-faced, the ones that we updated. But in other cases, we have updated the annotations for each and every standard, which are somewhat extensive if we go to the OSCAR website, and I'll share that website, that web address with you shortly. But as you can see in Standard 2, we want to make sure that online students have an overall orientation and overview, and included in that is some wording around how all content should be predictable and easy to find. Standard number 3, we put in the wording of that course expectations are clear and findable. So as you can see, we have several sections to the OSCAR rubric, and the numbering went a little weird on us, but even when we talk about course objectives and outcomes down on the bottom, that those outcomes are clearly defined, measurable, and align to student learning activities. Also, making sure that students know how to contact you. All of this lends itself to clear to easy interaction with the instructor, that there is clear access to the instructor for the online student, and that the instructor is always present in the course in terms of being accessible to the course. I'll draw your attention to standard number 19 here, that instructions are provided and well written. I would even add to that, part of that well-written piece would be what is the role of the instructor in terms of expectations for turnaround time, and when the student can expect an evaluation of any particular assessment. Um, again, the Oscar rubric as an instrument of continuous improvement, we want to make sure that an Oscar review includes a review of regular and substantive interaction embedded into the design of an online course. So again, showing you these standards really just in context. Okay. Um, some address RSI and some don't. Um, all of them have been labored over and have been agreed upon for again using as a lens for improving our online courses. So when we get to content and activities, and this is later on in the rubric, so sorry. Um, if when we get to content and activities, the attention or the focus on RSI picks up. Um, in other words, like standard 29, the one at the top, that a variety of activities is offered to students, and those activities include regular and substantive interaction with the instructor. That even in when we describe the types of activities, what we try to do uh, in terms of like number 30 and 31, we try to imply that the instructor, will be um, evaluating students on higher order thinking and problem solving skills. Um, and that the instructor will try to ensure, as number 31 says, that the learning activities and even the evaluations of performances on learning activities include a focus on um, real world applications. And really, when we get to the last section of Oscar, so sorry, that the interaction section, that section that helps us look for room for improvement in our interactions with online students. A lot of the RSI language is embedded into those standards, and I must say it wasn't that hard to do, because we here at Suny have been promoting a regular and substantive interaction for a long time, without that being a catchphrase, which it is now. Um, and so, a lot of this is about expectations, and that even in the design of a course, so if a Middle States team were to come and review the online courses, they would be looking at courses with no students in it. So what we want to again make sure of is that in the design of the course, not necessarily the implementation of the course, but in the design of the course before students even come in, that expectations for instructor engagement are clearly stated, and that the online student knows on which activities the instructor will engage and at what intervals. Um, so as you can see, expectations here are addressed in terms of the interactions with students. Um, Also, building a sense of class community has always been a focus of course improvements. So sorry. And Again, that in that class community, the instructor is actively engaged. So RSI is not just about um, getting students to engage in discussions. Thank you so much, Alex. Uh, the the uh, the presentation here, the slide switching thing is very is very sensitive. So even if I just tap my table, the slides advance. So Alexandra Pickett in the discussion forum is helping us, is adding to this presentation in terms of explaining, some of the standards in gray and the standards in black, and all of, addressing some of the standards that, again, have been modified to either address regular and substantive interaction directly or indirectly. So as Alex is putting in the chat as well, interaction must be initiated by the instructor. So the existence of discussion forums, as engaging as they are for students, again, does not necessarily meet the RSI requirement of being initiated by the instructor. So what you want to encourage your faculty to do, and if you're faculty, what you want to do is make sure that your students understand clearly, again, how what the nature of your role as the instructor in terms of engaging with students, how often, and at what intervals. So again, a lot of this comes down to expectations, what can be stated in the design of a course. And so the Oscar rubric is a great instrument to to apply, not only for online course quality in all of the different areas that it looks at, but also again squarely for RSI now. And so we're going to run out of time in a little bit. We have 8 minutes left. So what I want to encourage you all to do is, thanks, Alex. Alex is putting in great resources here and I'm so sorry, the slides are advancing sort of like on their own. If you want to get your Oscar rubric, if you go to oscar.suny.edu, even if you were just to go to that single website, you could navigate that website pretty easily. Much of it is pretty clear in terms of our recent updates with regular and substantive interaction. And Alex has put in some great resources, not only in the chat here, but on this website, oscar.suny.edu, that will help you understand and get to a lot of the details around regular and substantive interaction. We have a self-assessment piece for the Oscar rubric. It comes in two forms. Those of you who know it or are going to explore the website, we have a PDF that is used for self-assessment. It is hosted by the Online Learning Consortium, with whom we are partners in the Oscar rubric. But off of oscar.suny.edu, there is also a way to generate your own Google form. Okay, it's actually a Google worksheet for the dynamic version of the Oscar rubric. And when I say dynamic, that includes tabs for multiple reviewers. And those of you who want to run it on your campus, those who will be monitoring several different course reviews, there is something called the Oscar dashboard. Yeah, so Alex is asking in the chat if there were any questions, and if you do have any questions, please put them in the chat. I'm very interested in anything you want to know about Oscar. But as you can see from the slides, Oscar is sort of a full suite, not just a single instrument, but it is a process that you can initiate on your campus. And the dashboard is, if you're going to run that process, the dashboard is something that you'll be very interested in checking out. So I'm going to use just a few minutes here, and if you again to encourage you to ask questions in the chat. We have 5 minutes left. If you want to join our SUNY online community of practitioners, there are several ways for you to do so. You can become a SUNY online fellow. Um, and we have a great community here in SUNY for online practitioners. And so Alex is putting the URLs in the chat for anyone who's interested. Um, Again, this information will be available to you after this presentation through the Center for Professional Development. And I highly encourage you, if you haven't checked out Oscar yet, now is a great time to do it because it addresses many issues in terms of online pedagogy, online accessibility for students, and now online regular and substantive interaction. So some web addresses for you again to learn more about Oscar and access materials around Oscar. So Laura's asking if there were any changes made to Oscar that were not related to RSI, if any. And I think graphically, some of there have been some changes made to Oscar, but our focus for Oscar 4.0 has been updating some of the promotional materials that we use for Oscar. And Alex is putting a link to some of the change log that we also include on the website in terms of how Oscar has been versioned over the years. So we do have a way for you to be recognized here in SUNY. So we have a badging system, and if you join our community and of online teaching fellows and become a community participant, those are both badgeable activities, and we hope that you do and that you share those badges. We like to draw in as much input as possible from our community of practitioners throughout the SUNY system. So I invite you to join us and contribute to the effective practices and all of the conversations around them. So just some sorry. I'll stop it here so that I won't touch my machine now, and I'll let this slide be my last slide. I'd like to thank you all for some of the for your engagement today. I'm looking at the Q&A here. So Laura, Alex provided a link for you in the chat. I think it's called the discussion forum here if you're attending virtually. And yeah, for some reason, my view of those questions is sort of truncated. Yes, if you would, please. Yeah, those are included in the change log as well, and there is a full uh, delineation of all of the changes to not only standards but to annotations as well on the RSI page, I believe, off of the main site, which again is oscar.suny.edu. Ah, okay. So I'm trying to scroll. Is there something from Jennifer? I see. Thank you. Yes, I believe